Chaos.radio. Music, podcasts, entertainment.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of NEWSWAVE, written, produced and recorded in the heart of Cornwall by the team here at Chaos Radio. I'm your host, Maddie James, and I'll be guiding you through some of the insightful guests and exciting news content that we have enjoyed across Chaos Radio this past week. On today's show, we join public health practitioner Gareth Walsh to detail a quick, free health check that could save your life and encourages more people to check their blood pressure. Sue Sayer, founder of the Seal Research Trust, explains how a growing UK-wide campaign is calling for a ban on plastic flying rings amid concerns about the harm they cause to seals and other marine wildlife. And we dive into the wonderful world of Miracle Theatre and preview their latest imaginative productions, a retelling of the classic tale Peer Gynt, with founder Bill Scott. Breast Cancer Now is encouraging people to break the silence around breast cancer by supporting their upcoming afternoon tea fundraiser. Clinical nurse Natasha Emin Hassan tells us more. Before we chat, the Ride for Precious Lives, a 3-day cycling challenge in support of Children's Hospice Southwest, that Chaos Radio's very own Tom Howe is now just days away from taking on.
NEWSWAVE.
A quick, free check that could save your life. That's the message behind a Cornwall-wide push to get more people checking their blood pressure. The Know Your Numbers campaign has already exceeded its original 10,000 target in just 6 months, and the team behind the project want even more people to take part. Public health practitioner for Cornwall Council, Gareth Walsh, told Bryna Jordan how they're feeling after such a positive response.
NEWSWAVE.
Really thrilled that, we set out an ambitious target last September to say 10,000 blood pressures in 12 months. And I think organisations have really been behind this. So we're very lucky. We've got a brilliant library service throughout Cornwall with lots of libraries. There's a mobile library as well. There's one on the Isles of Scilly. And they've really got behind it. And we've got a really good service, exactly like a loan in a book. You can loan a blood pressure monitor, and pharmacies. Our local pharmacies have been fantastic. And people can just go along, have a pharmacy check. We've also got our great health promotion arm of public health called Healthy Cornwall. They do lots of various events where you can go along and get your blood pressure checked.
Doesn't take very long at all either, does it? 10 minutes in and out and then you're done?
Oh, not even that, to be honest. I mean, it's literally a couple of minutes. However, what I will say is to have a good, accurate reading, you don't want to take it for about 7 to 10 days, really. So realistically, although one-off reading doesn't take long, you want to be settled, you want to be calm, you want to be relaxed as you can be. And gold standard, that's why the libraries are so good. Borrow a machine once in the morning, once in the evening, take it at the same time, 7 days reading, then you've got an accurate, average you can do. And then if it's slightly high, so high blood pressure, also known as hypertension, there's lots of stuff you can do to address that.
And as if the 10,000 target wasn't incredible in itself, you're now aiming to double that to 20,000 checks within a year. Why is it so important that people get checked, even if they feel completely fine and perfectly healthy?
Great, because the reason is that it often goes undetected, sometimes known as the silent killer. Typically, there's no symptoms and people can feel, I'm quite fit and healthy. In fact, we've had people where they've said, I've been quite fit and healthy, gone along. They've had high blood pressure and there's lots you can do to do it. So really, know your numbers is about getting used to what your numbers are. So you take a 7-10 days average. If it's slightly high, then you can do your lifestyle changes, eat as healthily as you can, as much physical activity as you can. So there's lots of guidelines, ideally 30 minutes a day of exercise, 5 days a week. If you smoke, stop smoking. So there's lots of things that you can do to be healthy. And if it's still high and you're concerned, then yes, go to your GP. And it could be that you need medications to actually, to reduce your blood pressure.
How would you know if your blood pressure is high? That might seem like a bit of a silly question, but I think I would do it and I would just be like, oh, there's some numbers there. Particularly know what a good baseline is.
The older you get, the more your blood pressure will go up. But, an adult within a decent range, up to probably about 70, then it goes up slightly. We're looking for something between, there's two readings actually. There's a systolic and a diastolic. One is the reading where it's like sort of pumping the heart, pumping the blood, I should say, your heart pumping the blood, and the other one is at rest. So you get a high and a top and a bottom reading. So we're looking really anything between 90 over 60 to about 120 over 80. So anything, up to 120 over 80 is a healthy reading. Now, if it's elevated and it's above the 120 over 80, then yeah, take 7 days reading, and if it's still a bit high, there are lots of things you can do. As I said, those lifestyle changes. So stage 1 hypertension is 140 over 90. And even then you might not need medication. You probably want to, speak to your GP, but there's lots of stuff we want to look at first, really. Healthy lifestyle. Stress is a big factor as well, don't forget. So people have stressful lives. And lots of things like stimulants, like caffeine, like nicotine, can increase your blood pressure.
Why was it so important for you guys to bring the checks into community places like libraries and pharmacies and workplaces? I can assume that white coat syndrome was a big part of that. Yeah,
really good point. So, and even when you go to your pharmacy, it might not be necessarily, that getting yourself worked up, going to see, the doctor sort of scenario is. The library in particular is a more relaxed environment where, it's quite conducive to well-being, to being relaxed. You don't actually take it in the library, you take it home. And of course, when you're in the house and you can just make yourself as comfortable as possible, set yourself up to take that accurate reading, because we're not expecting you to take a reading after you've just had a stressful morning or whatever, or been out for a run and stuff. You've really got yourself to have a proper, accurate, at rest, blood pressure at rest, so that, going to the library in itself is conducive to well-being, and it's often been said that reading books can reduce your blood pressure, reduce your stress and stuff. So that's why. But we want to make it as accessible as possible for anybody just to go out there, know their numbers, and do something about it, really, because it's very quick to get done, and lots you can do to support your health.
How could another local organisation or employer get involved with this project moving forward?
Yeah, brilliant. So we have a really great outreach arm of public health called Healthy Cornwall. Great website. So if people just Google Healthy Cornwall, then they go on lots of lifestyle advices. But for businesses even, then they can contact Healthy Cornwall probably that way. So they can say, right, how do we get involved with doing, blood pressure checks? Drop them an email. I'm more than happy to support different organisations and obviously individuals as well to get this Know Your Numbers check.
And for anyone listening that doesn't know their numbers, what would your message be to them?
There's the pharmacy, local pharmacy that, you could just pop along, or even better, go to the library. If you're not registered, fine. It takes a couple of minutes to register. It's really quick. Get yourself a blood pressure monitor, get to know your numbers, visit Healthy Cornwall and start making positive changes.
NEWSWAVE.
With Talking Life, I'm Jessica Harding. It is important to recognise and celebrate those who serve or have served in the UK Armed Forces. Joining me to discuss this is Lieutenant Colonel Barney Barnbrook. Tell us about you and your work for the Army Benevolent Fund.
This year I've been in the Army for 38 years, regular and reserve. I left the regular Army in 2013, and when I was looking for a job, this job came up. And because of my experiences in places like Iraq and Afghanistan and Northern Ireland, it just made sense to be able to support those that I'd served with and those who have come after me. So the Army Benevolent Fund is the Army's national charity. It's the Army's only national charity, and it was formed in 1944 by three quite famous individuals, Winston Churchill, King George VI, and Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery. And it was formed to make sure that the soldiers coming back from Europe and the Far East were looked after in a way that they weren't at the end of the First World War. We are there to support soldiers, veterans and their immediate families in times of genuine need. It's all about allowing those people to live their lives in dignity, whether they're serving or whether they've served.
What support does the charity provide?
There's the support that we give to individuals, and that might be supporting mental health issues, housing, training, things like that. The other side of that is supporting other organisations on behalf of the wider Army family. Quite famous organisations like Combat Stress, for example, they provide a mental ill health provision.
Why is it important to show support for the armed forces?
I think it's probably even more important now than it has been in the past, because during Iraq and Afghanistan, the army were in our living rooms every night. It was a very, very testing period for the army. But at the moment, it's less in the spotlight, and people don't necessarily think about what the army does and what the armed forces do. But they are still there. They're still there prepared to defend our country in whatever shape that takes. And I think the other important thing is that we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We can't be in a position like at the end of the Second World War where we had to launch a massive campaign to be able to generate the funds to support those troops coming back. We need to have that ready. And it's that debt of honour, I think, that drove the Army Development Fund in the first place. And that debt of honour never goes away. We've still got Normandy veterans who landed on the beaches for us, for our freedom. And whilst it's quite easy to almost ignore what the armed forces do or would do in today's environment, I think it's really important to understand that there are people who are ready to make that sacrifice to preserve our freedoms, and sometimes they do need help.
Where can people go for more information and to donate?
The website, if you just Google Army Benevolent Fund on the webpage, there's more detail about the events across the whole of the country, and there are contact details as well.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Barney Barnbrook. With Talking Life, I'm Jessica Harding.
NEWSWAVE.
A campaign to protect marine wildlife is gaining momentum across the UK, with calls for a ban on plastic flying rings following growing concern about their impact on seals and other animals. Tom Howe spoke to Sue Sayer, founder of the Seal Research Trust, about the issue and what simple changes we can make to help out.
NEWSWAVE.
Plastic flying rings are toys, and nobody ever intends to hurt a seal with them. But plastic lasts for hundreds of years in the ocean, and curiosity can definitely kill. So young seals learn through play, and they will they'll see a flying ring floating in the water, and they'll go and play with it and interact with it. And the next thing you know is it's round its neck. Now, unfortunately, if that seal is not lucky enough to be rescued, that ring then floats free again to kill another animal, and so on. So most people are unaware of this, and that's why we've got the campaign to raise awareness.
Well, it's a shocking statistics around it, and hopefully this will raise awareness and make people realise as well the impact of their decisions and some of the things they literally just throw away. This campaign was recently taken to Westminster as well, wasn't it? How was that received, and are you hopeful you'll get government backing for the campaign?
So yes, Gareth Richards from the Seal Alliance Vice Chair and Jenny Hobson, who started this whole campaign many years ago from Friends of Horsey Seals, went to Westminster Hall, and they had a drop-in session at which 20 MPs and peers turned up, which was really good. And for everyone, this just seems like a no-brainer. And the reason it seems a no-brainer is this is not trying to stop retailers from making money, because what retailers who have stopped selling flying rings have discovered is they've replaced them with alternative, ideally non-plastic, but alternative solid discs, like the old Frisbees that we used to play with, and they actually sell them for more than they do the flying rings. So it's not taking any money away from retailers. And the other thing is, it's not stopping anyone having fun on the beach, because they can play with the alternative. So it's just a case of switching from one toy to another, and this problem goes away. So for everybody, it seems like a bit of a no-brainer. So it went down really well with the MPs, for sure.
Great news. And last year as well, hot on the sort of before that, Cornwall Council approved a voluntary ban, didn't they, on the sale of the rings. Are you already seeing a change in attitudes in local businesses and beachgoers here in Cornwall?
It's made a big difference having councillors supporting. What was utterly amazing about that was that it was unanimous. So all the councillors voted to have this voluntary ban on the sale and use of flying rings in Cornwall. But we're not the only council who've done it. There are several in North Norfolk. There are several in Wales who have done the same thing. And Wales are kind of hoping to be the first council to have a complete nationwide ban. So, England, here we come.
No pressure.
No pressure there. We need to try and continue to raise awareness with councils, particularly coastal councils. But we get in Cornwall, don't we, lots of holiday makers from inland. And if they buy them inland, then they're going to bring the rings with them and they're going to play with them and not realise. So, and one of the next steps for the council is to actually get signs up on car parks near beaches saying, please use solid discs, don't use flying rings. And that will hopefully spread the message a bit further.
What would your advice be to listeners heading to the beach this summer who are maybe keen to do more environmentally and friendly for marine life? Are there things we should avoid? Or on the flip side of that, are there things that we could proactively do?
Yeah, so proactively, obviously, cut that ring up, recycle it, and get yourself, if you want to play with one, get one of these, ideally a biodegradable solid disc. But then if you see somebody else using one, if you're feeling stressed and upset and cross about it, then you shouldn't speak to them. But if you feel like you can have a calm, quiet, happy, positive conversation about it, going up to them and say, oh, did you realise that actually seals play with these things if they get lost? So please, will you make sure you take it off the beach with you and you're careful with it around the water, and then ideally not use them again? And did you know that there's a campaign about this?
NEWSWAVE.
With Talking Tech, I'm Roy McGowan. How you dispose of your used tech is probably not something many of us consider. But if that device has a battery in it, you should think again. Recently in the UK, lithium-ion batteries, the kinds that are used in disposable vapes, mobile phones and e-scooters, have caused several electrical fires at landfill sites due to them not being disposed of properly. So if you're looking to get rid of a phone or something with this kind of battery, how are you meant to do it? Well, the first step is to make sure that the battery is safe to be removed. Experts recommend that owners of lithium batteries should tape over any terminals or connectors if they can, to avoid any short circuits. Check your battery for any signs of damage, swelling or leakage. If there are signs of these, do not use it again, and prioritise disposing of it as quickly and safely as possible. As for where to take it, there are a few options. First, check your local council's waste recycling centre to see if they accept electrical batteries. At the time of recording, recycleyourelectricals.org.uk has a fantastic free search engine that allows you to search for your nearest recycling centre service that accepts these kinds of batteries. Most supermarkets and electronic retailers also have small battery recycling bins too. These bins are usually designed for smaller batteries, so if your local supermarket accepts them, they can be a fantastic place to dispose of smartphone, laptop, e-cigarette and power tool batteries in a safe way. And lastly, it's worth looking at the battery provider's website. Under the 2009 Battery Regulations Act, the retailer is required to provide designated collection points for used batteries, and any manufacturers must make sure that those recycled materials are handled in an environmentally friendly manner. So check to see if they have their own scheme in place for your tech. Disposing of these batteries in the proper way doesn't just keep you safe, but it also keeps safe the thousands of people across the UK who work at recycling facilities too. Chances are that you own at least one device with a battery like this. So if you're thinking of getting rid of it, make sure to check its batteries first, and if they are lithium-ion batteries, make sure that you get rid of them in the safe and proper way. With Talking Tech, I'm Roy McGowan.
NEWSWAVE.
Right, you're listening to NEWSWAVE here on Chaos Radio with me, Maddie James. For more than 47 years, Miracle Theatre has been bringing original, inventive shows to extraordinary places, from cliff tops and castles to village halls and theatres across the southwest. This year, Miracle Theatre combined their love of laughter, outdoor theatre and magical twists to the classic story of Peer Gynt. Joining Tom Howe to share the fun was Miracle Theatre founder Bill Scott.
NEWSWAVE.
I started Miracle Theatre a very long time ago in 1979, and it's grown from a very sort of part-time, unfunded enterprise to quite a reasonably sized organisation. We now have sort of 5 or so people in the office, and we do a couple of large projects each year, touring in the summer right across Cornwall, Scilly Isles and up into Dorset and Devon. And in the winter we usually have a small scale touring project that gets into village halls and art centres and schools. And then in between we do occasional one-off programmes as well. We're in a transition phase where I'm starting to hand over the artistic lead of the company to Sally Crooks, who's been working in various capacities with Miracle ever since she did work experience a very, very long time ago with us, which is really nice.
For people that aren't aware then of the magic around Miracle Theatre, what is it for you that makes the company so distinctive, if you like?
I suppose it's the collaborative way that we put a show together. We'll usually start with a script, and in the past I've written those scripts. Now we're starting to work with other people as writers, but the script goes into the rehearsal room with half a dozen actors, say, and a director, and then a team who will be doing designing costumes, maybe making or recording music, sometimes a bit of video, and everyone has an input into the process. And I'm quite often more like a sort of referee or an umpire, just kind of keeping things moving. So by the time the show's ready to go out on tour, everyone involved in it feels like they've been part of making that show, and that I think gives it a special quality. And also we've always enjoyed making people laugh. So even if the subject matter might be quite serious, I think the way to reach people is getting them to put their guard down by making them laugh and have a good time, and then you can hit the serious moments and they're more sort of open to it, I think, then. So it's a mixture. It's like entertaining people, hopefully inspiring people, and hopefully they come away sort of feeling a bit more joyful about life.
What I love is the quite unique locations across Cornwall and the wider southwest that you pop up in every year. Why is that sense of place, I suppose, so important to the work that you do?
Well, I suppose initially it came about because there aren't really, well, certainly back then, there weren't any sort of dedicated theatre venues apart from the Minack Theatre. So it was sort of turning a necessity into a virtue, really, that we go to these houses or gardens or even cliff tops or beaches. And the idea being that you go to the audience rather than the audience having to drive long distances to come and see a show. We're going to be there within a few miles, and quite often people walk to our shows. And so you look around what's available. Obviously you pick a place that's got its own sort of dramatic or beautiful qualities, and you use it. You kind of, there's always opportunities to sort of bring that venue, that place into the performance in some way. I think for some people going to the theatre can feel they're not quite sure about the etiquette, and maybe they feel it's not for them, whereas if you kind of turn up in their local, somewhere that they go for their recreation anyway, then it's the barriers are already starting to come down, and our performances are very direct. If you're sitting in a field with an audience, you can't pretend they're not there like you can in a theatre where they're sitting in the dark. They're right there, looking at you from about 6 foot away. You can't ignore them, so you have to engage with them. So it works well.
And if you forgive me bringing up a conversation we had off air a second ago, you're rather exposed to the elements as well in some of these locations, aren't you?
Yeah, you get. Well, I thought I'd seen everything, but last week was. I don't think we've ever had those sort of temperatures, and where it was we put off. We had a show up in Wiltshire where it was really hot. It's sort of in the high 30s, and we actually postponed the start of the show for about an hour just to let things cool down a bit. And even then, the actors had to not wear some of their costumes because it was dangerous, dangerously hot. So we haven't had that. And then the other night, I think on Friday, we were in Newquay and were hit by thunderstorms and lightning, and these sort of gale force winds had appeared from nowhere and carried the tent containing all the technical equipment, literally carried it away. The audience were helping to hold it down. So quite a week last week.
Yes, a very immersive experience for the audience as well.
It is.
Let's talk about this summer's tour then. You're bringing a new take on Peer Gynt. I hope I'm pronouncing that right to audiences. Yep. What can people expect?
Most people have heard of Peer Gynt, and I think it's because it's a very famous music that was written for the play by composer Grieg, and I think that's about as much as they know. And when you actually sort of challenge people to say, well, what do you think of the play? And most people go, oh, I've never actually seen it. And it was, when it was written, it was 5.5 hours long, and it had 50 characters, and the settings go sort of pretty much across the globe. You'll get 100 different opinions about what it means. So it was a challenge, and we sort of jumped in there. We've reduced it to well under 2 hours. It was performed by 4 actors, and it makes sense, I think. And it's actually a really entertaining, good story, and it's a bit thought-provoking. And we, to be honest, didn't know how people would take it when we did the first performance. But people have really kind of lapped it up and enjoyed it, and I'm sure they go home after the show and argue about what it meant all the way home, which is great.
That's wonderful. You're also encouraging people to become part of that journey through things like Miracle Friends Scheme. We all know sort of, I think some of us will have an appreciation at the moment. We're all having to sort of tighten our belts and make cuts here and there, and that's just the way of the world at the moment. But can you tell us a bit more about that and how people can support your work as well moving forward?
Well, I suppose the best way to support our work is to come and see it, because that's what we're here for. We rely on volunteers to help us with our front of house, and people can go to our website and find out how they can sign up to be a volunteer, which is fun. It might just be showing people to their seats, or helping selling tickets, or making the tea and the coffee. And obviously you get to watch the show as well. And we're very kind of friendly, welcoming bunch. You're not just left sort of standing on the sidelines. And there are different ways that you can donate to help the company keep on the road. And again, there's details on the website. But yeah, like I say, without an audience, what we do is completely pointless. So making that little extra effort to get out and watch a live show where it's a shared experience with an audience. You're all sitting there together, experiencing the same thing. You can interact and talk about it. It is a very different experience, and I think it's important to try and keep it going now that everyone's sort of disappearing into their screens for their entertainment. I think things like this are kind of important.
You use such an important word there, experience. If someone wants to come and experience, they want to come along this summer, what do they need to know? Where can they pick up tickets and find a list of venues? Because you're taking up a few sorts of towns, aren't you? You're getting out and about, aren't you?
We're doing 50 shows over June, July and August, and I think we're going to that's over 35 different venues. The best way to find out about it is to go to our website, which is just miracletheatre.co.uk, and it's got details of all the venues and the dates and how you can buy tickets. Our shows are really good fun, entertaining, stimulating, and like you say, often they're in places that are worth visiting for their own sake. So what's not to enjoy? Come along and give it a try.
NEWSWAVE.
With Talking Health, I'm Jessica Harding. Health experts are warning that the climate crisis is causing an escalation in the outbreak of diseases such as the Ebola virus. Joining me to discuss this is Dr. Jacqueline Carey, Director of Programmes at AMREF Institute for Capacity Development. Doctor, tell me about AMREF Health Africa.
It's an NGO that is based in the region, and we have quite a bit of work going on in most of sub-Saharan Africa. Our work also includes enhancing health security, and that includes preparedness and response whenever we have disease outbreaks. So Ebola is one of the challenges that we are handling right now. Over 800 cases have been confirmed in the Democratic Republic of Congo. About 20 cases have been confirmed in Uganda. There's still very active contact tracing going on in both countries. Our work is mainly around building community trust, because we believe that community is really the first defense against disease transmission. Educating the community members, working with our community health workers to just ensure they can support the contact tracing, making the appropriate and timely referrals to the health facilities to just ensure there's early detection, making sure that our frontline is well prepared.
How is the climate crisis increasing the spread of disease?
Every geographical context is affected by climate change. In Africa, we've had this in a very big way. And one of the things we say at AMREF is that a climate crisis is a health crisis. We are seeing a change in the malaria transmission patterns, especially in the East African region. We are seeing malaria spread in regions that were almost containing the disease because, of course, we are seeing the mosquitoes in areas that were not there because of the rising temperatures. The rainfall also means there is more flooding, and therefore there is more breeding sites. And I think most of us are looking at the short-term impacts of climate change, because immediately when you have a rainy season, then you're likely to see, an outbreak of the waterborne diseases, for example. But something else that is also happening is that we're also seeing a change across other sectors that are not necessarily in the health sector. Schools, for example, close ahead of time because the classrooms are too hot. Might be interrupting the education, the school curriculums, but later on, it means that we are likely to have more children drop out of school. That is going to affect livelihoods. If girls cannot go to school, it means they're out there, and the risk of early pregnancies also kicks in.
Is there a risk of malaria in the UK due to climate change?
With the rising temperatures, then that is likely to reintroduce diseases that are spread by mosquitoes, malaria, diseases like dengue fever, diseases that have not been reported in the UK for the longest time.
Where can we go for more information?
So you could find us on www.ambref.org. You'll find most of the work that we're doing in Africa there. You could also find more work through our Ambref UK office, and that is www.ambrefuk.org.
Thank you, Dr. Carey. With Talking Health, I'm Jessica Harding.
NEWSWAVE.
Now, Breast Cancer Now is encouraging people to break the silence and use everyday moments to check in with family and friends. They're encouraging people to learn the signs and symptoms of breast cancer and support their upcoming afternoon tea fundraiser, which will help fund life-saving research and life-changing support services. To share details, Tom was joined by Natasha Emin Hassan, a clinical nurse at Breast Cancer Now.
NEWSWAVE.
The research from Breast Cancer Now in our partnership with TFL reveals that fewer than a quarter of UK adults are comfortable talking about their breast health. But what it also showed is that about 2/3 of people that we spoke to agreed that actually having a hot drink with somebody that they trust, like a friend or a family member, is one way that they would feel more comfortable kind of opening up about these sort of issues.
Now, some of the big barriers that have come out from this research include things like embarrassment and privacy as well, which are two really big things. Why do you think breast health is still such a difficult topic for people to open up about?
I mean, I think that it's kind of, even in this modern day, people feel uncomfortable talking about their bodies, especially things like breasts and nipples. So, being able to kind of open up and share those sort of things, we know that about 55,000 women and 400 men are diagnosed with breast cancer each year. So there's a lot of people that have had a diagnosis. So most people will know somebody that has been through a diagnosis and treatment. So I think that if people kind of feel more comfortable opening up, then they will probably find that they're not alone, that there are other people that kind of understand or have a similar story or know somebody that's been through it already.
There's also a concern, isn't there, that some people may not speak up if they think a symptom is not serious or they don't want it to be serious, for example. How vital is it to challenge that mindset of being scared, I suppose, to get these things checked?
It's super important because we do know that, early diagnosis of breast cancer leads to more people's treatment being successful. But it's completely understandable, but people's breasts change throughout their lives. People can have different kind of sizes, shapes, lumpiness, that kind of thing. That all can be completely normal. But what we would always recommend is if you're not sure, you should get anything checked out. We do have something called what we call our TLC messaging, which stands for touch, look, check. And there's kind of information on our website about the kind of most common signs of breast cancer and things that if you do notice them, that you should definitely go to your GP and get checked out. That doesn't necessarily mean that it will turn out to be something suspicious or cancer. Not everybody that goes to a breast clinic has breast cancer, but it's always really important to get things checked because, until you go, you just don't know. And it's always better to be safe than sorry, basically.
Absolutely. And this campaign encourages people to use everyday moments like we said, chatting over a cup of tea and a few biscuits maybe to start these conversations. Have you found this approach to be effective?
I mean, definitely what our research shows is that people do find that trusted people in a comfortable environment that they feel familiar with is the best way that makes people want to open up. And that's why we have our kind of upcoming afternoon tea campaign that's coming up in August. And people can sign up to host an afternoon tea, which is an ideal opportunity to come together and raise awareness and help raise vital funds for the services that we kind of provide for people that have been through a breast cancer diagnosis. So our research and our support and our helpline, all the stuff that we do to support people, needs the support of people kind of joining in our activities like the afternoon tea.
How does it work then? People just sign up and create an event and tell their friends about it, get as many people there as possible, raise as much awareness. What does the sign-up process look like? What might they need to know? What might they need to do? All of that stuff.
Well, it's very simple. You just go to our website, which is breastcancernow.org, and search for afternoon tea, and you can fill out a registration form, and our wonderful fundraising team will send a pack with all you need to know to kind of get your event going. And it can be, as small or as large as you want or need it to be. We're not expecting everyone to kind of hire a hall or anything like that, but just, having a few friends around to their kitchen, however you want to do it, the more the merrier, really. We just want to get as many people involved as possible.
Community can be so important, can't it? Breaking down these stigmas and talking to people with perhaps lived experiences of some of these issues that we're talking about now. Maybe people turn up who work in the profession as well, who are able to give advice. So it starts with community, doesn't it? Which is why I think these afternoon teas are such a fantastic idea.
Absolutely, yeah. What we're aiming to do is bring people together to have these open and honest conversations. As we mentioned earlier, some people find certain topics difficult or embarrassing, feel a bit private about them. But, the more that we get people talking and the more that people realise that, there are other people out there that have been through the same thing, then hopefully the more comfortable people will feel to come forward and then go and get those vital checks that they need of their GP. It's completely understandable if people do feel a bit embarrassed or a bit shy about these things. But just to kind of reiterate really that keeping silent is not the way forward, is not the answer. That if you don't kind of share these issues, then you can't find out if there's something that needs to be looked at into more detail. It's just super important to talk and be open about these things.
Fantastic. Natasha, thank you so much for your time. Just that website one more time for our listeners to head to if they're interested in taking those next steps and perhaps starting their own afternoon tea or maybe attending one that's close by.
Yes, so our website is www.breastcancernow.org, but we also have a helpline that is staffed by some wonderful nurses. So if anyone's feeling a bit nervous or has any questions about their breast health and wants some support with that, then we also have a helpline which is 0808 800 6000.
NEWSWAVE.
With Talking Travel, I'm Rory McGowan. It seems like every summer, Britain is breaking records when it comes to high temperatures, and with that comes travel disruption. Constant temperatures above 34 degrees Celsius are warping our roads and can cause delays for both train and air travel. But why does this happen? And how can the UK stop these hot summers from ruining our travel plans? The common theme on how heat affects travel is failing infrastructure. With trains, for example, the trains themselves are mostly fine, but when the heat causes the overhead power lines to expand and sag, this can damage the lines and cause the trains to stop working. This means that train companies may choose to run fewer trains to put less pressure on the power lines, or that services can be cancelled so that maintenance work can take place. Network Rail has been keen to reassure travellers that modern overhead lines, which are used on the majority of Britain's rail network, are much less affected by the hot weather. But older overhead lines are more vulnerable to this kind of damage. In a similar way to the power lines, roads can also be damaged by the extreme heat. The average melting point of tarmac is around 50 degrees Celsius, and as the road absorbs the heat, some roads can melt and become sticky as a result. Councils are well versed at combating this, however, and deploy a vehicle that may confuse many at first to deal with it: a road gritter. Whilst typically associated with making the road surface safe during the winter, gritting the roads in the heat can lower the surface temperature of the road and can strengthen tyre grip where the surface is already melting. And lastly, planes are affected in a completely different way. Hot air is less dense, and the less dense air means that planes struggle to generate as much lift on takeoff. This means that planes require longer runways to take off, and this in turn is what causes delays. Melting runways can also be a problem here too. Whilst better air conditioning can help us feel more comfortable in any vehicle, it's the infrastructure that suffers the most when the weather turns hot. The government and engineers are working hard to update our infrastructure that helps us get from point A to point B. But if you're planning on going somewhere in the UK in the warmer months, it's probably best to expect some delays. With Talking Travel, I'm Roy McGowan.
NEWSWAVE.
And finally, this week, Chaos Radio's Tom Howe is set to take part in Ride for Precious Lives. Between Friday the 10th and Sunday the 12th of July, he'll be tackling 3 demanding days in the saddle in aid of Children's Hospice Southwest.
NEWSWAVE.
I've signed up for Ride for Precious Lives 2026 and I'm so excited actually. The hard work and effort and training and fundraising that I have to put in and my colleagues and everybody else as well is nothing compared to the challenges being faced by the families and the children that are being cared for by Children's Hospice Southwest across their 3 sites. So, and I think as well, I always say that we pride ourselves on being a community organisation here, supporting and underpinning the community. But how can we really get a proper appreciation of things if we don't live it as well? Get in there and really sort of, roll our sleeves up. So I could have done a day's work in one of the shops that they have around the local areas, or whatever it might be. But no, I've signed myself up for this 212-mile cycle in July. So yeah, super excited. It's for an amazing cause, and the support already has just been incredible. It's a great community of people, and I'm a newcomer to this. There are a few other sort of rookies, if you like, that are doing this for the first time, but we're joined by some incredible teams of people who have done this over a number of years, who are all really encouraging. And if you look at their impact over the years, have raised an incredible amount of money and awareness just to continue the vital work that they do at Children's Hospice Southwest.
Is it Bristol? I nearly said intercontinental. It's inter-county, cross-county.
Yes.
This cycle. You start all the way up north, essentially, to Cornwall anyway.
So essentially, we're riding between the 3 children's hospices. And actually, the final one will be Little Harbour and St Austell. So I'll be coming home, which is, it sounds good. So, we'll be starting sort of Portishead, like Bristol area, and sort of near Wales, isn't it? North Somerset, that's where Charlton Farm is based, so that's the sort of furthest one from here, if you like. That's the furthest hospice. We'll be then visiting Littlebridge House, which is in Barnstaple, and then on the 3rd day visiting obviously Little Harbour here in St Austell. So it's about 70 or 80 miles a day, which sounds in itself, a bit of a challenge. And the route, though, is absolutely incredible because it traverses some of the the best spots the Southwest has to offer. So we're going to be taking in Cheddar Gorge, luckily going down rather than up, and Exmoor, Bodmin Moor, and of course the finish at St Austell Bay into Porthpean will just be beautiful as well. It's one of those things that you think, oh yeah, I could do that, but it's not until you actually start doing it you realise how incredibly difficult and challenging it can be. But again, it would be very patronising for me to say, oh, how difficult a life I've got with this, when actually the real challenges are being faced by the children and families who are being supported. And one of the reasons I really wanted to do this is because of our work with CHSW. But I don't know if you've done it or any of our listeners have done it either, but they do tours around the site. So I've only been to Little Harbour. But like I said, you do not get an appreciation of how special, how breathtaking, remarkable. You could use all the adjectives under the sun, because it's just such an incredible experience. And I'm a father of a young child myself, and I would want to feel, if I was in that situation, I'd want to feel that I had the support and that I knew where to turn. And I feel we have a responsibility as well to support organisations like this, with our resources to say, actually, we can add to some of that rhetoric and narrative and say, do you know what, there is places for people to turn when, negative diagnoses are given or challenges like this are faced. There's pieces there that can help break down some of those questions in a way, because you're going to have a million questions, and actually if there's stuff out there that helps you understand what might be ahead of you and the support you're going to achieve, and the support that you're going to get, and what's being achieved to help with that fundraising and that awareness raising, then we're doing our bit.
I've spoken to countless people that have worked for Children's Hospice Southwest over the years, and the work that they do is that they are real life angels and real life superheroes. How does it feel to be able to take on this challenge in support of Children's Hospice and everyone that works there, patients, future, present?
Yeah, it's not just the families that are being supported, the over 100 families that are being supported just by Little Harbour, for example. It's the people that work there every day, that get up out of bed and know they're facing a challenging situation, but they are giving their careers, their personalities, their lives to support and better the lives of other people. And I just think that's an absolutely incredible thing to be able to do that, not just for one family, but for hundreds of families too, and over a huge amount of time. And I know the support that CHSW give to their nurses and their staff, their volunteers, because there are loads of them. There are loads of them. And yeah, you have to be a pretty special workforce to be able to day in, day out deliver the support that they deliver. So yeah, like I said, this is the least we can do. I know we had a couple of our team do the Rainbow Run last year as well, and we've had a couple of people do the Santa Run as well. So no one had done this one, so yeah, this was the only one that was left. So it was my turn. But
the best thing is you're not doing it alone, are you? You're going to have however many other participants. Over 100 participants. God help anyone that's stuck behind you in a car. You can have
it'll be you and the Chaos Radio team.
It will be, actually. But there's going to be all these people, and I feel like you get that kind of shared effervescence when you're doing something like that with someone else. You're all going to motivate each other. You're all going to spur each other on, which I think if you were doing it by yourself, like I totally do believe in you. However, there might be some moments there where you're like, can't do it, but you've got, I don't know, Sally to your right. Yes, you can, Tom.
Yeah. If Sally could join me on the ride, that would be great. No, look, that's one of the reasons why in my head I thought, yes, let's do this, because we work in the community every day and we know how strong that community can be in helping with so many different challenges and barriers. And the community that has been created via this ride and the other events that take place as well, raising money not only for CHSW but other charities as well, that all do incredible work. It's difficult, isn't it, to choose, because you could try and raise money for everyone, couldn't you? So I don't know what next year's going to hold, but let's hold off. Let's do this one first. But yeah, the community is so great. And that's one thing that keeps being repeated in the meetings we're having, in the events, in the chat boards we've got, that, do you know what, no one's going to be left behind, and any concerns or queries or whatever it might be, everything's being sort of answered so that everyone feels comfortable and ready to raise as much money and as much awareness as possible for the cause. And each person has been given a sponsorship target of £1,250, and the funds, if I may, the funds go towards so many vital services, including hospice stays, palliative and emergency care, end-of-life care, support for babies, children, young people and their families across the southwest. And CHSW as well is they operate the only children's hospices in the southwest. So before these hospices were built and these services were provided, who knows where the closest place was. And now actually we're seeing lives extended and family moments created that may not have been beforehand. So as well as all the fun and all the excitement and the camaraderie and the banter and whatever it might be, there is a really serious undercurrent to this, and that's exactly why we're all doing it. By the very nature of chaos, we all want to be doing as much as we can for the community that we serve and we love and we live in, because life's not easy, is it, for anybody, and everyone just doing their little bit makes life that much simpler and better and happier. And at that point, may I talk about my Just Giving page?
I was just about to ask you about your Just Giving page.
Yes. So I already, as I mentioned earlier, I do have to raise, as part of this, and every rider does as well, so £1,250. So there are going to be some events coming up over the next few months that we will announce in due course. But before that, you can follow my journey. I don't know, give me a little nice message to push me along up the hill or something. An actual push might be better, but I'll take a message. Thank you. You can connect with my journey at www.justgiving.com. And if you type in Tom Howe, Ride for Precious Lives, and that's Tom Howe, Howe, Ride for Precious Lives, I will arrive there. You'll see my photo, you'll read my story, you'll be able to then connect with some of the other riders as well, and see some of the incredible work that's going on around Children's Hospice Southwest. And thank you so much in advance for any support or donations you're able to give.
NEWSWAVE.
With Talking Money, I'm Kieran Bannister. Summer festival season is a fertile time for ticket scammers. The COO of Tacombo, an ethical resale platform for fan-to-fan resales, gave us his advice on how to avoid ticket tragedy. Peter, thank you for joining me. Why is ticket fraud still such a major issue?
It's a major issue because major events in the industry, they're creating this urgency and scarcity, and also the fans of such big events and or any type of live events, they are emotional. Then the tickets are also in super high demand, and due to this, the fraudsters know people may move quickly if they think they are about to miss out.
What would you say are the biggest mistakes fans make, and what would you say are the warning signs that something is wrong?
The biggest mistake is usually that you pay outside the secure platform, especially these different channels. You're forced to pay by bank transfer outside of the platform, by crypto, or you purchase from such informal seller groups. So the fans, they can see like a major warning sign is that a seller is pressuring them to pay quickly. They avoid the ticket details sharing, and they also ask the fan or the buyer in this case to leave the platform. So I think if we speak about the main warning signs, the seller pushes for payment outside a secure platform, the price looks too good to be true, the seller refuses to provide these clear ticket details, then the buyers ask to pay by means outside of the platform, the ticket is only shown as a screenshot or a PDF without a clear transfer process, and then it's also possible that the website looks similar to the official one, but the domain or the payment flow doesn't feel right.
What's your final message for ticket buyers?
No platform can eliminate every risk in live event ticketing, but a structured marketplace can significantly reduce these risks. As again I mentioned previously, we advise that fans can review our T-Combo guarantee, T-Combo sticks protect information, and buyer guidance before making a purchase, especially for high demand events similar to the World Cup happening now. For the fans, it's important to use the structured platform to avoid paying outside the systems. And make sure that you can see the ticket details, the seller details, and be cautious if someone is applying pressure to you to act fast.
For more information, please visit tocombo.com. With Talking Money, I'm Kieran Bannister.
NEWSWAVE.
Okay, that's all we've got time for on this week's edition of NEWSWAVE. A big Chaos Radio thank you to public health practitioner Gareth Walsh, soothsayer of the Seal Research Trust, to the founder of Miracle Theatre Bill Scott, to Natasha Emin Hassan at Breast Cancer Now, and to Chaos Radio's Tom Howe, ahead of the weekend's ride for Precious Lives. And as ever, a final thank you to you for listening and helping support local journalism to thrive. To catch up on all our coverage, as well as to check out our extensive back catalogue of interviews and shows, head on over to chaos.radio. And remember, if you have a local news story that you would like to share with us, email news@chaos.radio or search Chaos Radio UK across socials. NEWSWAVE has been produced and presented by me, Maddie James, and is a Chaos Radio production for the Cornwall Community Media Network.
NEWSWAVE.
Chaos.radio. Music, podcasts, entertainment.